Here we go. Broadcast is live now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Thank You Plant Medicine Ouroboros Story Hour at the first ever World of Wisdom. I'm your host and producer, Bob Cohen. I'm a dad, writer, teacher, and bluesman. When I'm not stuck at home playing hide and seek with COVID-19 and doom scrolling about the end of Western civilization, I'm busy teaching writing and literature and working on a memoir about the convergence of clogged arteries, financial catastrophe, a lifetime of trauma, psychedelics, and late middle age. For those of you who don't know anything about World Wisdom, it is a simple framework of 10 guiding principles for welcoming personal, local, and global challenges using curiosity, playfulness, and co-creation. It combines timeless wisdom, modern knowledge, and human creativity. World of Wisdom is more than festivals or retreats. It's an experiment in human development, a place for all of us to explore, grow, heal, connect, experiment, play, and co-create. And if I understand our times in any way, I think shifting to co-creation is going to be the thing that's going to it's going to settle things down. So Thank You Plant Medicine was founded by, organized by John Glazer. It's a diverse global collective of individuals, groups, and organizations united by deep gratitude and appreciation for psychoactive plants, medicines, and psychedelics. Ouroboros Story Hour is a multi-city, monthly, live, unscripted storytelling production. Our mission is to promote deep personal and societal healing and radical acceptance of ourselves and others by sharing and witnessing stories about experiences with teaching plants, psychedelics, and other consciousness hacking practices. We offer co-created safe spaces for people to share their healing journeys and personal explorations on both sides of the microphone. Our storytellers are people who are not professional performers. They're people with stories. They have real raw stories to tell, and you'll see that's where the magic happens. So a few reminders. Story Hour is a share, not a show. We gather to co-create unique moments for people to share their healing journeys, and where we can learn to practice radical self-acceptance of others and ourselves. Stories and views expressed by the storytellers belong to the people who share them, not to TYPM, not to Ouroboros Story Hour or World of Wisdom. And our next note is Story Hour is a substance-free event. We don't endorse the use of substances that are illegal in other jurisdictions. Entheogenic substances are very powerful. They're safe, but they're very powerful. If you're called to this path, please do your own research and use good judgment. Our storytellers today are going to be Asa Angel, who's in Brooklyn, New York, and Cristiano Train, who is in Portugal right now. I usually start off with a little story to get things warmed up, and so I think I will do that today. I'm going to keep it on the short side. We will be monitoring Facebook Live, so if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. It would be great if you put in a comment and told us where you're from. This is our third day, so we've had a good number of viewers in both, and we've had viewers from all over the world. So it's been a pretty cool experience so far. So let's see. I told the story yesterday about how I found myself wanting to experiment with psychoactive substances later in life, and I left out an important detail in the story. So the backstory is that we had a catastrophic financial reversal. My wife was assaulted by the president of the board of directors of her company. She was the CEO. She blew the whistle, and as always happens to women when they blow the whistle, she found herself on the wrong side of that, and so that ended up disrupting our lives. One of the consequences of that was that we lost our health insurance, and so that very same summer, I was in the advanced stages of heart failure. Three of the 4 of my coronary arteries were blocked, 99%. And I had made the decision early in the summer that I didn't want to burden my family with medical debt. So I just let go and said, I guess I'm going to die. Toward the end of that summer, so mid August, actually right around this time of year, we made toward the end of that summer, I had this crazy dream. So it was, I'm a writer, as I mentioned, I'm a writer. So I had this dream where I was talking to somebody who was my editor / mentor about the projects that I was working on. And I got the advice I needed about those. But at the end of our meeting, the person, and I never knew the person's name, said to me, the next story that you write, I want you to use this character name. So he said Tolah, Tolah. And he kept on repeating it to me over and over and over again as I sort of migrated from dream consciousness to waking. And he kept on saying Tolah, 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 Tolah. So I woke up in the morning, and the first thing I did was grab my phone and look up the word Tolah. So as it happens, there's a reason why I needed to know that song. I needed to know that word. It means crimson worm, and the shell from that bug, it was used in biblical times to dye religious garments. It makes them sort of a reddish purple, and it appears in the Bible 2 times. So one is in Psalm 22, and the other is in Matthew, and it kind of refers to resurrection. So here's the crazy thing. I was a card carrying and I was a card carrying atheist at the time. So I looked at this and was like, what the hell, Bible? And I picked up I picked up my Bible that I have on my iPad, and I started reading Psalm 22, which begins, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you far from saving me? So far from the words of my groaning. Oh my God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer by night, and am not silent. And something crazy happened as I worked my way into that song, and it was Christians call it grace. I still struggle with with the whole religious piece of this, but Christians call it grace. Something changed in my body. So when we talk a lot about consciousness shifting, and it happens with medicines like ayahuasca and LSD and mushrooms and that sort of thing, trauma is also a consciousness shifting process. And so I have no idea why that came to me. I have no memory whatsoever of ever knowing about Tolah. I studied literature in college and grad school. I did read the Bible from time to time, but I just doubt seriously that I actually ever read that particular psalm. And yet here it was, and especially with that particular association. So not 2 or 3 days later, we called up, I live in Massachusetts, and we have something called Mass Health, which is a health insurance program for people who have financial difficulties. And my wife called, and she got on the phone a woman named Luce, Luce. So that's, for all you Spanish speaking people, you know that it means light. For the English people who speak English, it means light. And I don't know honestly, I don't know what happened, because I don't know that to this day, I'm not sure if we ever actually really qualified for it, but somehow or another, by the end of that phone conversation, I had health insurance. And within a week, I was at the hospital getting life-saving surgery. And so that puts us into September of 2013. And I thought, like, wow, this is great. Like, I'm alive. I'm not going to die. Except that was the only problem that got solved with that act of grace. So we continued to face a lot of difficulties, both emotionally and financially, over that next year, which drove me to the point of being in my garage with a rope around my neck. And the only reason I didn't do it was because I didn't want my children to find me. But in that following year, I met another angel. And so my medicine story really is this movement, this journey where periodically I find, periodically angels come to me. And so I went to a conference on psychedelics. That's September 2014. I met somebody there who connected me to a trip sitter who helped me out with, who sat for me while I took mushrooms. At that conference, people were talking about ayahuasca, and that that was the medicine that sounded like it was for me. This was like, it's going to blow it's going to blow everything up. It's going to fix me. I have to have this. And everybody I talked to at the conference and in the months following kept on saying to me, grandmother finds you when you're ready. I thought I was ready, but apparently I wasn't. So I go from that September to January of 2015. I got connected with Trip Sitter. I had my first mushroom experience. And then from there, it took about 2 years. From there, in the following 2 years, I didn't have access to medicine community. So I had to grow my own mushrooms, and I didn't have someone who I could reliably trust to trip sit for me. So I was microdosing. And so in the 3 years between that mushroom trip and when I actually took ayahuasca, I built community. And between that big trip that I took in January of 2015 and the microdosing work, things began to shift for me. Coming into late 2017, I got connected with a group of people here in Massachusetts, and lo and behold, I go into 2018, and this is the last time I've actually taken mushrooms. I was home by myself. I finally dared to do a higher dose than a microdose by myself. So I took about 2.5 grams dried, which is that's a healthy amount. And I had this crazy. I had another one of those kinds of experiences like the dream, where I went in with the intention. I probably should have mentioned this ahead of time, but I was in a PhD program for English when I was a young man, and I got to my 4th year, and we had another set of events that ended up causing me to leave the program without my degree, and that was it was a pretty big disruption. And it's a wound that I've carried with me ever since 1984, and so I took this mushroom trip by myself in January of 2018 to kind of reckon with, to help me put down the trauma from that and to kind of clear the space ahead of me. So I take the medicine. I'm in my living room. I'm lying on the couch, and I hear the sound. So it's the sound of a chainsaw. And it seemed incongruous to me that I would hear a chainsaw in January in the middle of New England on the coldest day of the year with 4 feet of snow on the ground. And I tried to put it out of my head. I tried to say, all right, I'll just leave this be. I'll put my headphones back on, put on my eye covers, and tried to go inside. And I heard, and so it wouldn't go away. I got up from the couch, I went to my window, and I looked across the street, and there was this crew of probably about 6 guys cutting down my neighbor's tree. Now, that tree's been there since we built our house in 1995, and it's been kind of a friend that stares, that's looked over us over the years. And I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on, but as I watched the scene, something happened to me where I lost my sense of like who exactly I am, and somehow or another, I and the tree merged together and became a single consciousness. And as they were working up and down the street, because the way that people cut down trees is they don't just chop them down and go. They shear all of the branches first, run them through a wood chipper, and then they cut down the trunk in chunks so that it doesn't fall on anybody's house. So as the trees as the limbs were being shorn off the tree, it felt like it was happening to me. Like I experienced the agony and the pain and all the things that might happen to a living thing that was killed bit by bit by bit by bit in such a violent way. And there came a point when the tree knew it was going to that he was going to die, and he asked me to take his energy, his soul, spirit, to ground. And so I agreed. And as I experienced the tree's terminal agony, like I felt I died with it, and I went beneath the earth, and I brought his spirit home. And people who practice shamanism kind of get this. Shamans believe that we get sick because pieces of our soul break off and go hide in a place called the Cave of Lost Souls. And I think that's where I went, because a big part of my soul went into the ground with that, with the tree, and there it lay. And about a month later, toward the end of February, I got an invitation to attend my first ayahuasca ceremony in March. And of course I agreed. And when I went to that ceremony and I drank the medicine, I had this crazy rebirth. I had this vision of being in this circle. I practice a kind of ayahuasca called Umbandaime. So there's a healing circle, and people are invited to dance inside the healing circle. And I really struggled with the medicine at first. It really debilitated me. And there came this moment where I felt like I could actually finally get to my feet. I got to my feet, went into the circle to dance, and it felt like I was reborn. And I felt that I felt not all of it, because I still feel sad about it from time to time, but I felt a lot of the trauma, a lot of the sadness from failing to complete my degree. I felt it all melt away, and I felt like there was all this space that opened up in front of me. And from that point on, I've been on quite a medicine journey. I've drunk lots of ayahuasca. My journey's taken me to Ecuador, where I've gone on vision quests, and it's been just most extraordinary. So that's my story. I'm going to, David, are you there to sort of deal with getting other people into the, oh, there we are. Okay. Yeah. So kind of bear with us with the tech. We normally have been doing these on Zoom and Facebook Live. We're on Be Live Studio, and so it's going to be a little clunky as we go through. So the interactive part really will come when I pass on to the next storyteller, and I'll start fielding questions and whatnot from there. So if you have questions, if you have questions about my story, sort of hold on to them. Meanwhile, we are going to transition over to Asa. So Asa is a very good friend of mine. She's a frequent contributor to Ouroboros Story Hour in New England, but she's my friend now more than anything else. So she's a perpetual nomad and lifelong explorer. She hopes that she's putting down more things than she's picking up. She plans to tell a story about how Nino Santos let her chat directly with God. So Asa, you're up. Thank you so much.
No big deal. Hi, everybody. I'm Asa, and I am videoing in from Brooklyn. So if you hear any like loud honks or music, that's my street corner. And yeah, my story is interesting because it's both like a psychedelic story, but it's also like very much a coronavirus quarantine story. So coronavirus hit for all of us, and we went into shelter in place. I actually went up to Boston with some friends, and it was just the three of us, like by ourselves every single day. We'd go to the grocery store maybe once every 2 weeks, just to kind of keep it under wraps. And so like we're really having very limited interaction with folks. But I'm a Buddhist practitioner, and my spiritual practice kind of started like really taking off or rooting in again. And I was having all sorts of powerful kind of revelations and just like jumps in consciousness happening. And it was really fascinating. But after about 5 or 6 weeks of this like shelter in place thing, like I could start to feel that really like unsettled energy of just like, oh, I feel like I need to go out, I need to do something, I need to be like, my energy just wanted to go out. And it didn't feel very comfortable, and I didn't have a choice. So I was like, I need to figure out a way to take all of that outward focused energy and kind of draw it back into myself. And around that same time, I had a really kismet encounter with a woman I had just met, and she was like, I want to talk to you about something that I think you'd be interested in. And I had no idea what she was going to talk to me about, but I was like, okay. And I hopped on a call with this woman, and she starts talking to me about a bunch of spiritual practices and things she's done. And I'm like, that's very cool. I'm into all of that. And I think she's just trying to like test the water of where I am. And she goes, okay, well, I think that you are this kind of person. She goes, I am a part of a group of people who come together every couple of weeks. And we were hosting in-person plant medicine ceremonies, but now we're hosting Zoom plant medicine ceremonies. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, whoa, yes, like this would be so cool. And the medicine that they were using was psilocybin, which I'm very familiar with. I've been using for like 12 years or something. But I've never sat ceremony. So I was really excited to have the opportunity to do that. And so I got all signed up and got like a kit. And yeah, like the night that I was supposed to do this ceremony, I decided to do 3.5 grams of mushrooms. And that is the most mushrooms I've ever done in my life. I have only ever done half of that. And even then, it's been like so many years. I've mostly only been microdosing recently. So a big trip is, yeah, it was like due. And also I've just never done that big of a trip. I was actually a little bit nervous the day of, and I pulled like tarot cards to see if I should do it. And it was just blatantly obvious that it was like, do the full 3.5. You're going to regret it if you don't. So I was like, you know what? I'm all in on the spiritual journey. Like, let's do this. So the night comes, and we gather together online, and we share our intentions for the ceremony and anything that we want to kind of like work on. And I say that same thing, that like I just have all this energy coming up, and I know that it can be used for like spiritual cleansing and awakening and all that stuff, and that's what I want. So that's my intention. And then we make tea, and we drink the tea together. And after that, then a musician starts playing, and we turn our cameras off. And I just kind of like laid back and was like, oh, I don't know what's about to happen now. And it came on pretty quickly. I don't know if it's because of how much I did or because it was a tea or both. But all of a sudden, like, everything started changing. Like, pretty typically, the walls like had patterns and there were colors, and like it was very visually stimulating. But then, like, also pretty quickly in, maybe about an hour or so in, I start feeling like actually, I think I started to have ego death, because I have that moment of like, oh my God, I think I took too much. I think I'm dying. And then there's the other part of me that's like, we know what this is. You're not dying. You're fine. And also, even if you did, you're fine anyway. So I was like, okay. And then I just like let go. And at that moment, like, something released, and part of me almost came out of my body. I wouldn't say that I was like looking down on my body or anything. It was more like I was just hovering above it, but I was still very much like connected to it. I could feel what was going on in it. And then all of a sudden in this place, it kind of feels like I'm just like a consciousness or something. And because maybe I'm disembodied, all of a sudden I have access to like all these different beings, bodied, embodied, ones that have existed, ones that maybe have never existed. And the first like thing to come through really was this like group. It seemed like a group of beings, but it was like whatever we would consider God to be. And so I'm just sitting there, and I have like question after question after question for them, and like they're just responding immediately. And I'm even like surprising myself, because I'm like, I didn't know I had this many questions. Like, it's just a conversation the entire time. And at one point, I think this is like when I made that I wasn't actually in my body so much. It's like all of a sudden, like, the music hit me in such a way that like I started crying, but the part of me that was speaking to the beings go, she crying, like realizing that the crying was kind of in the middle of our conversation. And then they go, she's been through a lot and she just needs to process. So we just kind of were quiet for a moment while the tears came, and whatever was in the body kind of like had a chance to come out. And I wish I could remember all of the questions that I asked, because it was so amazing, just like all of the answers that I was getting. But I remember one of the questions being like, why don't I remember anything? And they were like, we kind of bank on you forgetting. And it made so much sense. It was almost like I could feel how the forgetting why we're here or who we really are is actually a part of the magic, and like what makes it so important, like makes it feel like it's worthwhile. So that was really fascinating. And then I like tapped into a few other like beings' consciousnesses. So like I tapped in, I'm not Christian, but like I tapped into like a Jesus consciousness, and I started speaking to him. And my question was kind of around like, why, like, how did you do what you did? And like, how are you who you are? And he was just like, Asa, I was just a human, and I just did what I was supposed to do. I just played my part. I was no different than you. And that like hit me in a really deep way. And then for some reason I like jumped to Maria Sabina, who was like this mushroom shamaness. And I like asked her the same, like, how did you do what you do? And like all this stuff. And she was like, I was just a human, just like you. Like there is no difference. Like I just did what I came here to do, what I was meant to do. And that it was fascinating. It was like leveling the playing field and like really fully understanding that like nobody is above or below anyone else. Everyone's just like playing the game that they need to play, like the thing I guess maybe we chose before we got here. And then I talked to Lilith, who was supposed to be Adam's first wife, and I asked her questions, and it's just like fascinating, and most of the things just being like very matter of fact, like this is just the way things are. And when you can kind of finally like feel into like this just being the way things are, you're gonna relax. Like there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. It was almost like this feeling of like you're always in the same room, it's just the scenery has changed. And something about that like made me relax. So like after I have all this communication with different beings, I kind of just like go and like tap back into this God consciousness thing. And I can feel how God, or whatever you want to call it, is just like things exactly as I am, and I can feel like the love coming from this source, I guess, and how God like needs me, like how I'm actually like needed by this thing that's bigger than me, and that's true for everybody, but like in this moment, of course, I felt it as myself. And that just like fucking rocked me. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I've never felt love this deep and real. And then all of a sudden, I could like see with my body these like seeds of like desire and seeds of attachment and like the intoxicating, addictive quality of like relationship to other people and things. And I could feel them getting like pulled out or drug out like with a spade or something. And I was like, are you ready to give them? And for a moment, I was like, I do that. Like, I'm not gonna be anymore. But like in a moment later, I was like, but I don't want control. Like I want love, and I want like authenticity, and I want to be free of karma. And like in that moment, they were like, okay, and then just like pulled out these seeds from me. And all of a sudden, I'm just like feeling so like light and free, and can like feel connected to everybody. And I feel like the pain of the world and the beauty of the world, and like I just. Yeah, it was just like this insane, all-pervasive, super blissed out love state that I've never experienced before, and it was way better than any human-to-human like attachment style love. So that was crazy. And then from there, like I started to like come back into my body a little more, like kind of come back into the 3D a little bit more. And one of the first things I like noticed is like I had put on like these silky like pants to be really comfy for the night, and I like looked down at my pants and I was like, why do I look like the music video TLC Creep right now? And I just like kind of like died laughing to myself, and was also a little bit horrified. I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? And then I like went and I like grabbed a blanket, put it over my head, and got like all cuddly. And I like went up to the laptop for the first time, and I was like just watching this musician play music. And as I'm watching him, there's like this really beautiful quality about him where he's just like vibing, like he's just, you can tell that like life is just like flowing through him, and he's just like experimenting and grabbing like the next thing, and you can feel how he genuinely just wants everybody in this group to like have the best time. Like it felt like when you have one of those friends who just like tries to make it be like the best experience for everybody. And in that moment I was like, I love, like, I want to be like this. I want to be like this person where I don't want anything from anyone. I just do what I do, and that brings joy to people, and that like makes them happy, or doesn't, whatever. That's concerned. But like, I realized in that moment that also what makes somebody like an unsafe person to be around or a safe person to be around is whether or not they want something from you. And it's like, how many things in my life, how many times have I like done something to get something in return, but like not brought that to the light of my consciousness, and then got myself wrapped into some weird scenarios, and also have just been like manipulative in big or small ways. But it's just not like it's not a place that I want to live. I genuinely want to be in a place of the heart. And so I felt like I was inching more towards this place where I could just be, and be so full in myself and so connected to God, connected to love and to the universe and everything, that like I don't need anything else, and everything else is just kind of like icing on top. And so that way, like, I'm not ever using somebody for something. Obviously, like, I have not achieved this in perfection at all, but like I'm really fully understanding this in a very deep way. Also, what was like really cosmic about that evening is like, I like the music eventually went off, and like everybody went back to their own their own homes and experiences, and I was still very much like on the journey or whatever. And I, oddly enough, I don't even really do this ever, got on Instagram. And when I got, and this is at like almost 1 a.m. or something, and there was someone doing a live, a comedian that I like, and I never go on lives either. But for some reason I clicked on it, and he was already in the middle of like doing whatever he was doing. But like almost within 30 seconds of me hopping on, he goes, you guys, you don't hear this about my mushroom trip, do you? And I was like, are you like, this is on my mind? And then he goes into this whole story about like his mushroom trip, and also like the story about how he when he got his one moment to meet Ram, was like, I had been listening to before the journey and guiding me through the whole journey. He's like my main teachers. He starts talking about, this comedian starts talking about how he does. He had a few moments with, we had like a couple of moments with him, and you know, most people like ask a question, and this person made him laugh, made Ram Dass laugh. And I thought, wow, that's a fucking gift. Ram Dass so much, and of him like something from Ram Dass, he gave something to him, and what he gave him was his gift. So I ended up connecting with that community about, and like it was really powerful, and drove home the message of like, just show up and be whoever you are, and don't worry about like everything else, and don't worry about the outcome or the fruit. Like, just do the work, live so fully and love, and you'll do probably what you're here to do. So then the next day we end up having an integration circle and sharing our stories and things that came up. And what was really powerful about that, like, as I'm sitting with these folks, I'm like actually able, I consider myself a, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I'm like actually witnessing people right now, actually listening. I'm not thinking about what I need to say or judging or anything. I'm so fucking present with this person. And what I realized in that moment is like the act of witnessing has this like mutual effect, that we're actually impacted as much as the other person is by the share. And feel their stories go into me and change me in deep ways, as though these stories had happened to me too. And also I could just, my heart, how much I like them, and I would like cry over their stories, good and bad, like just really empathize in a way that I think of myself empathetic person, but I never felt empathy like this before. And yeah, like extremely powerful for me. Just ever since that whole experience, like this is seriously one of like the main life-changing experiences of my entire life. I've just been a completely different person. Like I am able to like be with people in a real way. I feel people in a real way. And I've been able to watch people unfold in a way that I've never seen before, and see them come into themselves in a way that I've never seen before, because like I'm able to hold space for them in that way. But also like I'm more comfortable and I feel more loving and relaxed, and like I don't have anywhere to go. Like there's nothing to do. So even being stuck in like quarantine is like not an issue, because it's like it's just an illusion that that going out and doing things is different. It's just like the getting game, and I'm like, I don't need to get anything as much anymore, and I'm still working on it. But hopefully, I'm just getting from life, from just being. And yeah, I'm gonna keep working on that. But that is my share, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Asa. Well, as always, a wonderful story. If anyone's got any questions for Asa, please feel free to put them in the chat. I've been monitoring it, and I don't seem to see any questions. This is just I want to check. I'm going to kind of touch base on one thing. We got started late, so if you're here looking for the microdosing event, they're going to immediately follow us. So we had some technical difficulties getting things organized with going with Facebook Live. So later on today, we have the microdosing session. Women in Medicine was scheduled for 2. It's going to be pushed off about an hour, and then there's a men's circle that was scheduled for 3, which will be put off about an hour. I'll be participating in that along with John Glazer, who is the he hates it when I say this, but he's the founder of Thank You Plant Medicine. He likes to say he's the organizer, but a lot of his energy is kind of what keeps this thing going forward. But he's really great about pulling in the right kinds of people to make the project work. And then we're hoping for a medicine music jam session to follow that. That's going to require us to get Facebook Live and Zoom organized. So just stay tuned, check on Thank You Plant Medicine, and then we'll keep you guys updated as the day goes along. So our last storyteller for today is Cristiano Train. He's a Brazilian facilitator of ancestral medicines, supporting the processes of interior evolution of retreat participants in Portugal, Spain, and Brazil. So here's the crazy thing about the way the medicine world works. I practice a form of Brazilian medicine ceremony, and we kind of just got, when we were talking about getting this organized a while back, we had this, like, I don't know about you, Cristiano, but I felt like, wow, I just met a brother, and it was it made me feel really warm and wonderful. So Cristiano's life story was marked by years of active addiction to alcohol and cocaine. He plans to share a story about how the discovery of ayahuasca and ibogaine saved him. So without further ado, Cristiano, the floor is yours. Thank you. Hey, Cristiano, I don't think we can hear you. Is your microphone on? Oh dear. David, are you there? Monitoring? We're having David's our tech guru who's in Costa Rica. So by the way, like right now in your panel, you see I'm in Massachusetts, Cristiano's in Portugal, and David is in Costa Rica. So welcome to the wonderful world of keeping things organized on tech.
Cristiano, what you can try is refreshing your browser, and then it'll it'll bring you back to the screen of like configuring your microphone.
So thank you for your patience, folks. Meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and let's see if we can
Bob, it looks like Terry asked, where is the calendar of events?
There is something in Thank You Plant Medicine. Mostly I've been working with WhatsApp. I'll post something in I'll post something in the Thank You Plant Medicine on the main page in a few minutes. So just so you know, that the World of Wisdom program is going to end on the 16th. So today I mentioned what they were. I mentioned the things we're going to be doing later today, and then there'll be another storytelling session tomorrow. That's going to be a much bigger one. I have 5 folks coming in to share. Cristiano, Mike's still not working. So let's see some comments. Someone asked yesterday. I did a truffle ceremony, and halfway through their trip, she heard part of herself talking telepathically to herself, like the highest part of herself. I think she thinks it was her soul or maybe her higher self. Does anyone have similar or near experiences? She said her insight was amazing, and she never had something like that never happened before. I think that's kind of the theme for today's stories. I've been doing the Ouroboros Story Hour project for about 3 years, and in the beginning, I used to very intentionally curate the sessions where, like, I might have a session where I invited a whole bunch of folks who worked on their addiction with plant medicines or some particular kind of trauma. And after a while, I kind of stopped doing it, and I discovered that the universe is curating it for us, and the themes sort of emerge in the sessions that kind of end up aligning themselves, and I think that's one of those. I think this is one of those great moments. Let's see. I mentioned that David's he's in Costa Rica and he's our tech guy. Let's see. Oh, do we have Cristiano? Are you? Do we have audio now?
No. Hang on. There's a little gear button, Cristiano, somewhere where you can maybe configure your microphone for Be Live.
Okay, so
it might be a matter of making sure Google Chrome is okay with you using the microphone. I'm not sure. Terry also asked, is World of Wisdom also through Facebook?
No, it's not. World of Wisdom, the link for that is I'll put the link in the chat in the comments. Hang on. And let's see if we go.
There we go. The link is up on the screen now. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so when you get there, hit continue, and then you're going to see a map of the camp. So just so you know, this was originally intended to be an in-person event, and they're rolling it out in stages. So this year there were 50 people in Gotland, Sweden. I guess next year they're planning for 500 people, and the hope is to sort of turn this into a kind of Burning Man thing, but with a focus on problem solving, as the the means to heal the world, rather than with Burning Man, which is sort of individual expression, and art as the modalities for healing the world. So when you hit that link, you're going to see a bunch of virtual camps. So on the far right is one called We Do. So if you click on We Do, you're going to see that's like that. That's I guess it's the northeastern section of that map. There are a number of camps in the We Do camp. So TYPM is one of those We Do things. We do, we do medicine. If you look around, there are a bunch of little bubbles. So there's one that they shift places, by the way. So and they're kind of small. So look around for one that's kind of paisley looking with a little red circle in it. If you click on that, above a rectangle is going to pop up that says "Thank you, Plant Medicine." Click on that, and then you will see the scheduled events there. So, like I said, today we have story hour, the microdosing, women in medicine / red tent, men's circle, and then this is actually not on there, but we're gonna try to have a jam session. And for tomorrow, story hours scheduled for 12 noon Eastern time, so it's 1800 to 2000 GMT, which is local time for Gotland. Then there's going to be a session on entheogens and psychedelics as the paradigm shifts. And don't be surprised if something else pops up. So we get, Terry says, of course I'm a burner. This sounds like, Terry says, this sounds like a wonderful direction to travel. The Instagram influencers at the Burn have been a bit too present. Yeah. Mayana, how are you?
Hello, guys.
Oh, you got it, Cristiano?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Can you hear me now? It's going to be like that's going to be the catchphrase for the, for the pandemic period, right? Because we're doing everything on virtual. So if you're just tuning in, again, we're running late. Thank you for your patience. I see that Mayana just popped in. Hi, Mayana. How are you? So we're going to turn the floor back over to Cristiano, who's going to share his journey with medicine and addiction. Thank you, Cristiano. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience as we kind of we work this stuff out. It's a brave new world. Bye.
Thank you, Bob, for your invitation, and thank you, Dave and Jonathan, too. So my name is Cristiano Tran, William. I'm from South Brazil, extremely South Brazil, near Argentina and Uruguay. And I'm in the world of plant medicines for 3 years now, a little bit more, maybe. And I get to medicine plants because of problems of addiction that I have for the most part of my life, my adult life. And it was very hard for a long time to me to deal with addiction. And I try many things to really get recover. I went for many years to Narcotics Anonymous in Brazil. I did psychotherapy and analysis for almost 10 years. Take a lot of medications, allopathic medications, because I was with bipolar transtorns because of the drugs. And for many years, I struggled with addiction. And I spent sometimes clean, but I always I always get relapse in drugs. For a period of 12 years, I was clean for a time, and then I was relapsing again. And after 10, 12, 15 years living this situation is very it's very overwhelming, and I think I get to a point that I simply could held it anymore. You know, it was a very hard time, and this happened 3 years ago. I had a burnout, and something funny happened in this moment. I worked for 25 years with cinema and films. I was director and producer of advertising films and cinema in Brazil. And I was always a big fan of horror movies. It was one of the genre that I was more connected. And one of my dreams, it was to make a horror movie, and I was planning to do one since 5 years ago. So in this process of create this horror movie, I start to have some intuitions about the villain of this movie. I knew I would like to create a movie with that was historical and horror, and then in a dream, an Indian spirit appears to me, and I understand with the dream that she was my character of the movie. So I begin to create a movie about an spirit of an Indian that was massacred by Portuguese and German in South Brazil colonization in 19th century. And this movie was a story of this spirit of the Indian showing himself to a child of a pastor, a Protestant pastor that colonized Brazil with German community in the 19th century. And she haunts the child to abduct the child to the forest and get a kind of revenge of all the blood that the wars of 19th century between the Portuguese and Brazilian army and the Germans and Italian colonizer had with the Indians in South Brazil. In 19th century, I think more than 1 million Indians was killed in this process. It was really hard. And this is a piece of the history of Brazil that is not, it's untold yet. And I felt extremely connected in my creative process. It was very unconscious creative process. And I was not very well in this time. I was coming out of my last relapse on drugs. And in the process of came out, this dream came to me, and I began to create this movie. And then ex-girlfriend contacted me, and I was beginning the shootings in a forest of South Brazil. And at this time, ex-girlfriend called me and invited me to do ayahuasca for the first time. And I was very connected with the indigenous culture of my land, because I was doing a lot of research to write the history. I was doing a lot of research to understand the kind of language they use, the looks they use in the past. So I was deeply inside this matter. And then I accepted to do ayahuasca. And then I was in my first session of ayahuasca in Brazil. And it was a very spiritual session. Brazil has the culture of do religious sessions and spiritual sessions. I went to a session that was called Universalist. It's a kind of session in Brazil that the prayers of ayahuasca. It's not shamans, are prayers. And the prayers combine a lot of religious styles in a same ceremony. And I didn't felt ayahuasca a lot in this first experience, but then I come back 1 week later, and then I have my first really deep experience with ayahuasca. I take some. I told the prayer that I have problems with addiction, and the prayer begins his career of prayer because he has the same problem with addiction. This guy understand my feeling because he passed for the same process, and ayahuasca had saved his life, and he became a prayer because ayahuasca saved him from cocaine too. And then he told me, Chris, you have to take the more powerful ayahuasca. You have to break a lot of things and deep inside. So I will give you the more strong ayahuasca I have. It's a kind of ayahuasca that's a paste. And then I take this ayahuasca and I have a really multi-dimensional experience. It was maybe one of the most beautiful experiences I had with entheogenics. And I have an ascension to a place where I could be in different parts of time, in different spaces of the universe, and it was really incredible. Many signs of a lot of different cultures, vibration and expansion and light, and after this first oblivious experience, I get into myself and felt all the pain and all the wounds that addiction did to me for many years. And I start to get punches in the ground, and after release a lot of anger, I start to cry, and I cried for more than 2 hours. I cried for more than 2 hours, but I didn't cry in a normal way. I cried like rivers of crying for 2 hours, and the truth is that I've never been the same person since that experience. That experience releases me from the spiritual and emotional consequences of more than 15 years of addiction with cocaine. In vibrational terms, in spiritual terms, and since then I begin to do ayahuasca weekly, and then for almost a year I did ayahuasca sessions in many styles. I followed this guy that helped me in the beginning for many months. I helped his group to do the sessions, the ceremonies, and I get deeply involved, and this became my life. I decided to quit my job with advertising films and really get inside the entheogenic and the psychedelic world, and to give myself 100% for this, to heal myself and to help other people to heal themselves too. Because I tried for many years for the normal, usual ways. I tried a lot of psychotherapy. I did analysis, youngest analysis for many years. I did groups of recover. In this period of 15 years, I think I get clean for 7 for the half time between comes and goes. But I couldn't in the normal process to get deep inside and to touch the really the darkest point and the more painful point that all that process all this addiction process give gave to me, you know. And I really need the psychedelic to be there and to be able to heal and touch and begin to heal and begin to dissipate the vibration of the pain and the fear. And so I deeply believe in the entheogenic power of ayahuasca and iboga. After 6 months of ayahuasca, I decided to do iboga, and I did the most strong treatment of iboga. I take the 8 capsules of iboga in a period of 10 hours maybe, and I get in the experience of iboga for almost 24 hours. I got a strong experience. I became not being able to walk for 10 hours, and I had this crazy experience with iboga that I have a astral projection for in the universe. It was the biggest expansion that I have until that moment. And when I came back to me, iboga makes me visit parts of my life again. It's like I was in the scene of the birth of my sister when I have 3 years of old. I relived that, and I being able to relive several relationships with many people, with many women that I have relations with, people of my family, with friends, and and to be there again and to see all that situations that I couldn't forgive myself to not be the person I used to be, because I was really lost on drugs, and I really hurt a lot of people in my journey of life. And iboga gives me the opportunity of be with that people again in that time, in that scene, and to see all the things in a different perspective, and forgive myself from not be the person I would like to be to them, you know. And this was another thing I would like to share today, because ayahuasca didn't give me this condition, you know, this condition of self forgiveness, being alive in the scene that is in your memory. It's really amazing. It was incredible. It was powerful healing. I feel really touched by it. It's a lot. It's difficult to talk about because it's really moves me. It's a miracle. It's incredible. I didn't hope this from iboga, because what I have read before about them is it was not like this. I have regression of deepest memories of my childhood. 3 years old, then 5 years old, then 10 years old, 7 years old. Then my adolescence, and then my relationships in my adult life, and many places, so many places. It was a long time, many hours, and I could revisit, I think, the most part of painful relationships I have in my life, and to see all them in a different perspective, myself in a different perspective, in a higher perspective, and this gave me the possibility of feel forgiveness for myself. And I think Iboga is amazing for addiction. I think it's I think we have to maybe study more. It's been used for addiction in many places. It's not only for addiction, but to me work like that and really release me. Ayahuasca still helps me. I'm still doing shadow work and healing wounds of addiction with ayahuasca and bufalvarius most part of the time. But I think Iboga gives me the break point to the compulsion and the obsession that I live for more than 15 years with addiction. You know, that experience of be able to be inside my memories again and forgive myself was the break point to the most dangerous feelings I still had inside of me in that time, you know. And that was it. So I'm now finishing my movie. It's an ancestral history of horror in South Brazil with a spirit of an Indian that appeared to me before I take ayahuasca. I felt I was guided somehow in in the things that I was doing that time to be with ayahuasca. And these days I'm working with entheogenic for 100% of my time. I sold my apartment in Brazil. I sold my car in Brazil. I sold my company and decided to work with entheogenic from now on. And I'm almost 2 years in this path. And now I work with an institute in Brazil that was the institute that I knew Iboga, that take care of me with Iboga. It's called Free Minds Mentes Livres Institute. I work with them. I represent them in Europe, and I connected with John and Dave and Thank You Plant Medicine Movement and Ana, a girl in Portugal, to try to help and to fight for legalization and the expansion of a world, of the dream of a world where the medicinal plants and psychoactive medicines could have their space and respect, and their space in psychotherapy, healing, you know. I'm really deep connected with this mission to help here in Portugal. To help Portugal to have the same condition we have in Brazil, legalization. Brazil have the legalization of ayahuasca since 1986. And you have sessions of ayahuasca for all over Brazil every Friday and every Saturday, and it's healing a lot of people. And I think we can get this in Portugal too. Portugal colonized Brazil; they know Brazilian culture, and I see hope in this path, and I'm here to help. You can count with me to do the work of try to create the legal conditions to work here in Portugal and other places too. I'm still in Portugal. I'm now in Portugal, and I'm engaged in this project now. And thank you for the opportunity to share my story with you. It was a pleasure and an honor. And I hope this can touch you in some way. And many blessings, guys, for all of you, from my heart to yours. Bye.
Well, thank you, Cristiano. Here we are. There, I can see my face now. Thank you so much. What a beautiful story. So, some folks were questioning about where they could.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, someone asked about where they could try Iboga, because of course it's not available in the U.S. Looks like we lost. It looks like we lost Cristiano as well. All right, we had a heck of a day with tech today. So, Don, do you want to close it out, or shall I? We had a heck of a day today with technology, and we had to switch from Zoom to this BTV thing, and it inhibits our ability to conduct the other programs that we planned for today in a way that we want to do them. So we're going to close out in a few minutes. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the confusion and the late start and all of the crazy stuff. But we're in a brave new world now. So maybe someday all this tech will be seamless. But meanwhile, you get to see the inner workings of the process. So thank you to World of Wisdom. Thank you to John for organizing this whole thing. Thank you to Asa, who had to go off for a class on shamanism. Thank you to Cristiano for telling your story. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be shifting today's programs over to tomorrow. So it's just the joy is postponed, not canceled. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bob. Thank you for hosting this, and thank you for everybody for the patience. Tomorrow we are going to come up with the storytelling hour, right, Bob? You have people for that, and the microdosing session that was planned for today is going to come up tomorrow, as well as Women in Medicine, Men's Circle, and the live jam. So we're going to hopefully crank it all together into the live Zoom and do it all on the World of Wisdom platform. The stories that were told today are just a few of thousands of stories, of hundreds of thousands of stories of people around the world benefiting from entheogenic plants and psychedelics in very bizarre ways many times. But we've hearing from Cristiano a story about addiction. This is not an uncommon story where somebody has an experience with opioids and is able to get out of the opioid addiction cycle through working with entheogens. So it was wonderful to hear Cristiano's story. Cristiano, I'm not sure he said it on the stream, but he's helping Shipibo communities up in the Amazon with getting funds and helping them out during the COVID time. So it's amazing to see how somebody who's been had difficulties in life is actually now contributing to society in so many ways, and that's something that I really love about our community. So yeah, thank you everybody.
Okay, well, ciao.
Ciao.